Joyce here with the Traveling Gamblers, and I am here with Jon. Hello, Jon.
Hello, Joyce.
And today is day 20 of 26 days living on the edge. Cruise ship, that is. Taking my lines?
Yes, I am.
Yesterday, we were in Santa Margherita, Italy. Oh my goodness. What an amazing day we had. I have to say that, well, I don't have to say, but I'm going to say, this is the best trip that we have ever been on. It's amazing, and it has made us realize that we need to broaden our horizons more and get out of the Caribbean much, much more often.
Mm-hmm.
We woke up about 8 o'clock, which was very nice that we got to sleep in just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we got ready for the day. And it was a tender port. So we went up to the retreat lounge where one of the retreat concierges escorted us down to deck 5 because it was a tender port. We went off via the magic carpet, and they escorted us off and right onto the tender. There was no waiting, no line, no waiting to get a tender ticket or anything. Being in the retreat definitely has its perks, and that was one of them. We got on the tender, and the tender was actually one of the ship's lifeboats. So we got to see inside and ride one of the lifeboats, and it was very comfortable. It was very modern and spacious, and the Mediterranean Sea was extremely calm. It was very smooth, and it was maybe a 10-minute tender ride, if that.
Yes, it was.
Over to Santa Margarita. And when we got off the tender in Santa Margarita, Nina, the hotel director, was there.
Seems to be every place where we get off.
She is so awesome.
Yeah,
She's so friendly and personable. I really, really enjoy chatting with her. She's very lovely. And I said, okay, what do you have for us today? What are your tips? And she said, go into town. We said, we're looking to have an Italian breakfast. And somebody commented that if we spent less time eating meals, we'd have more time to see things. And I agree completely. But since this is our first time in these places and our first time being in Europe, we are trying to experience at least one meal in each of the new places that we go to.
And we do order a little bit more than we actually eat. First of all, we want to try different things.
Right.
And we want to show you different things.
Right.
But I don't, it's going to be about 6 months before we're back here again.
Yeah. So we went, the town of Santa Margarita is right there. So if any of you have Santa Margarita planned on any of your itineraries or are planning to go, Santa Margarita was fabulous. Everything is right there. They have wonderful tours, absolutely wonderful tours. And our friends Christina and Nelson went on a tour with tasting their way through with Guido or something like that, and they said they had an absolute fabulous day, and theirs was one of the ship tours. Jon and I decided to just do this on our own, and everything was there. We walked into the town just a little bit.
Yes, and there was restaurants all over the place, and you could just sit wherever. There was a church right there in the square, and there was a funeral. So we saw a little bit of that.
Well, actually, Jon did. Yes. I went inside to look at some of the items and let them know what we wanted to order. Since we've never been in Italy and we were unfamiliar with how the ordering process, we didn't really see a server. Right. So I went inside to talk to them and look at and ask about some different things. So while I was inside, the funeral thing happened. And I came out and Jon said, oh, there was just the end of his funeral. And I said, oh, I would have, not that I want to see a funeral, but, it would have been interesting to at least see. Here's a picture of what we ordered. I had a latte.
I had a cappuccino.
My latte was served in a tall drinking glass, as you can see. And then we chose a couple different pastries. The large round thing that you see, that is a ham and cheese focaccia. That is apparently something that is very widely served for breakfast in Italy. One of the things that we've discovered is that breakfast in Italy is usually eaten around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They don't really eat breakfast. Traditional Italian will have a coffee for their morning, and that's it. And then they have their first meal of the day, and it's usually some type of a pastry or focaccia or something like that. And what was your favorite item of the things that we had?
The apple
Tart.
tart. Yes, that was really good.
And my favorite was the cream puff. It was amazing. And we took half of that with us back to the ship. We weren't sure whether we were going to be able to or not, but we ended up taking half of it back, half of the focaccia and a couple of the pastries, and had them later. After we had breakfast, we walked around a little bit and we saw some of the shops. We went across the way to the beautiful church where the funeral was held. And at first, when we first walked in, the caretaker of the church said that they were closed, so I just walked around quickly and took some pictures. Oh my gosh. It's magnificent. And then we went out to the main street and we saw a very cool castle, and we climbed some steps and we saw another small cathedral. And we were going to
walk to Portofino because we were told it was about a half-hour walk. But
and then we talked to somebody
Locals,
that was local there, a woman in a shop, and she said it was about an hour walk from where we were. And we would have done it.
Right.
I think we would have done it because we were just going to go at a slow pace. And it was a beautiful day. But
we had some friends that we were going to meet that were on the Beyond.
Sharon and Kevin,
Yes.
very good friends of ours that we love dearly,
Yes.
were on the Beyond cruise ship, which docked at another port nearby.
I think they were Portofino. No?
I think they were in Portofino.
Yeah, I think so.
And they took an excursion, and part of their excursion was a stop in Santa Margarita. So we planned this and we met up with them, and it was so awesome. It's funny because all four of us live in Florida, and we had to come to Italy to have lunch together.
Right.
And we had pizza and beer, and we had just a fabulous about an hour and a half with them. We are in Santa Margarita, Italy, and we have to go halfway around the world to have lunch with two of our favorite people, Sharon and Kevin. Hello.
Hi, John.
Unbelievable. And this is what we're having for lunch. Pizza and beer. Amazing. And it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful.
Actually, Kevin came out with some kind of desserts, didn't he, afterwards?
He did.
Oh, my
He went in and he paid the bill. And thank you, Kevin and Sharon.
Yes.
And he came out and said they didn't have any gelato, but he ordered some other things, and they came out with a tray of different kinds of treats, and we all took a taste of each one.
I'm not sure how many days we've been here so far, but we have not tried gelato yet. And we've been told to have gelato on each street, I think someone
Every
said.
quarter.
But we will do
We haven't had it
that
yet.
probably soon.
We have 5 more days left of the cruise, so we will have gelato before we leave Italy. And after the cruise, we have 3 days in Rome, so I have
Yes.
no doubt that we will be eating gelato before we leave Italy for sure.
Right.
After we had lunch with Sharon and Kevin, we did a little bit of window shopping. Bought a set of 6 little like limoncello cups and saucers, very pretty, covered in lemons. And Sharon bought a salt and pepper shaker and an apron.
Yes.
And so we did a little bit of shopping with them, and then we said our goodbyes. And Jon and I were pretty tuckered out because we had been out there since about 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was now about 3 in the afternoon. So we headed back to the ship, and we got on the tender. And again, we saw Mike from the retreat, and he walked us right to the head of the line, and we got on the tender. The tender was definitely rocky. The water was very swelly. So we were swaying back and forth. And as we approached the tender, we were moving in sideways to the tender, and we would hit up against the tender, and the current would push us back out a little bit, and they had a little bit of issue. And if any of you saw our other video, Man Overboard, there was a man overboard. One of the crew members fell. I think he was the crew member that was on the magic carpet to open the back door for the tender, and fell in the water. And everybody was yelling, stop, stop, stop. And it was scary. It was scary to witness. We felt for him, and the water had to have been cold. But the crew acted very quickly, very professionally, and they got him out of the water fairly fast, and we were impressed with their maneuvers. And he looked fine other than cold, and maybe, obviously a little traumatized, but all's well that ends well. It was quite the thing to see.
Yes. The driver of the tender backed up a little bit so the back door could be parallel to the crew member that was in the water, and that way he was able to swim a little bit towards the tender, and they were able to, he threw the rope towards the tender, and they were able to grab the rope with a pole and pull them in, and
pulled the crew member into the tender with us.
Yes.
And we quickly got back up to the side of the magic carpet, and they were there with towels and blankets and things to wrap around him. And he had to have been quite cold in soaking wet clothes and shoes and things, but he looked okay. He didn't look injured at all, and all's well that ends well as far as that goes. So that was traumatizing, I'm sure. When we got back on the ship, we just went straight to our cabin. We had enough coffee when we were in Italy, and we came back to our cabin because we had some work to do. We wanted to edit that video and get it up for you right away because it was new cruise news.
Then we got ready for dinner, and we met Christina and Nelson in Cyprus for dinner, and we recorded that.
Yes. We realized that the last time we were on the edge, we were in a suite, and it was only for 4 days, and we never recorded any of the meals in any of the main dining rooms. So we are doing that this trip.
Right.
This last cruise, the first leg of this trip, we were recording all of the specialty restaurant meals. So we, as Jon said, we went to Cyprus. The meal was very good. We ate dinner a little bit on the later side yesterday, and when we ate at Cyprus. So after dinner, quite frankly, we were exhausted.
Yes.
We had a lot of work to do. So we just came back to the cabin and retired early and had a nice quiet evening. Because today we are in La Spezia, or they also refer to it as the Florence region, because we are about an hour and a half from Florence, and we have an excursion today, and it's quite early here right now, but we will tell you about today tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your support, and as always, we hope you have a wonderful day.